At first, nothing about the footage seemed unusual. The robbery took place on a rainy Thursday night in late October. The kind of night when the streets shine black under streetlights and most people hurry home without looking around. The store was a small, family-owned convenience shop on the edge of a quiet suburban neighborhood. It had been there for 22 years. The owner, Daniel Kovac, was closing up for the night. At 10:47 p.m., the security cameras recorded a man entering the store. He wore a dark hoodie, gloves, and a surgical mask. Nothing extraordinary. That alone wouldn't make the footage memorable. At 10:49 p.m., the man pulled a handgun from his pocket. At 10:50 p.m., Daniel Kovac was dead. The killer fled on foot. The entire incident lasted less than 3 minutes. Police arrived within 6 minutes of the 911 call. A neighbor had heard the gunshot. Officers secured the scene, collected shell casings, photographed the blood pooling behind the counter. Standard procedure. The cameras had captured everything. Or so they thought. Detective Laura Bennett was assigned to the case the next morning. She was known for her patience more than her brilliance. She didn't rely on instinct. She relied on repetition. Watching, listening, rewatching. The footage was clear. Too clear. The suspect entered. He walked directly to the counter. No hesitation. No browsing. No pretending to shop. He knew exactly where he was going. Daniel raised his hands almost immediately. The suspect fired once. No struggle. No conversation audible. The suspect took the cash drawer and left. A simple armed robbery. But Laura didn't like simple. She watched the footage again. And again. And again. There was something about the suspect's movements. Not rushed. Not panicked. Controlled. Deliberate. Almost rehearsed. Still, nothing stood out enough to change the direction of the investigation. The suspect's face was hidden. The gloves meant no prints. The mask concealed most features. The hoodie was generic. The case started cooling faster than anyone wanted to admit. 2 weeks later, nothing. No credible tips. No matching ballistics in the system. No witnesses who saw a getaway car. The rain that night had washed away most outdoor traces. Laura requested all camera footage within a 2-block radius. Street cameras, traffic cameras, private business security systems. It amounted to nearly 30 hours of footage. Most of it showed nothing. Cars passing, pedestrians under umbrellas, headlights reflecting off wet pavement. But at 10:44 p.m., 3 minutes before the suspect entered the store, one of the street cameras captured something subtle. A dark sedan parked half a block away. Its engine remained running. Headlights off. It stayed there for exactly 6 minutes. Then it drove away at 10:50 p.m., right after the gunshot. It wasn't unusual enough to cause alarm. At least not then. By month 3, the case had officially slowed. Daniel's family held a small vigil outside the store. Candles flickered in the autumn wind. People whispered about how safe the neighborhood used to be. Laura kept watching the footage. She zoomed in on the suspect's posture. The way he stood. The way he reached for the cash drawer. The way he tilted his head slightly before firing. It felt familiar. Not personally familiar. Professionally familiar. Like she had seen that body language before. But she couldn't place it. The sedan footage remained in the file. Logged. Tagged. Labeled possible accomplice. No license plate visible. No clear driver image. The case officially transitioned from active to open unsolved after 6 months. Most detectives moved on. Laura didn't. 10 months later, the department conducted a routine cold case audit. Files were reassigned. Fresh eyes, they said. The CCTV footage was reviewed again, this time enhanced using updated software. Improved stabilization. Improved lighting correction. Improved frame clarity. Laura sat alone in the digital forensics room as the enhanced footage rendered. She wasn't expecting a miracle. She was expecting noise. What she got was something else. At exactly 10:47 and 12 seconds p.m., as the suspect opened the store door, something reflected in the glass. Something small. Something that had been there all along. But no one had noticed. The reflection was small. So small that, on the original footage, it looked like nothing more than rain streaking across the glass. But enhanced, frame by frame, stabilized and brightened, it became something else. At 10:47 and 12 seconds p.m., Just as the suspect pulled open the store door, the glass reflected the street behind him. And in that reflection, a figure, not the suspect, someone standing across the street. Still, watching, Laura leaned closer to the screen. The figure wasn't moving. It wasn't walking by. It wasn't caught mid-step. It was planted there, as if waiting. The enhancement sharpened the silhouette. Tall, wearing what appeared to be a long coat. No umbrella, despite the rain. And the angle suggested something chilling. The person wasn't looking at the store entrance. They were looking at the camera. Laura rewound it. Again, the suspect opened the door. The reflection appeared for less than half a second. Then it was gone. The timing was too precise. The suspect entered. 3 minutes later, the suspect left, and the sedan drove away. But nowhere in the surrounding street footage did that second figure appear clearly. It was as if they existed only in that sliver of glass. Laura felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't a simple robbery. Someone had been watching the watcher. The case file listed the sedan as possible getaway vehicle. But Laura began to question that assumption. What if the sedan wasn't there for the suspect? What if it was there for the second figure? She reanalyzed the timeline. 10:44 p.m., sedan parks. 10:47 p.m., suspect enters store. 10:50 p.m., suspect exits. 10:50 and 40 seconds p.m., sedan leaves. The sedan didn't move immediately after the suspect ran. It waited. 40 seconds. Why wait? If the suspect had a driver, the car would have pulled up. Instead, it stayed exactly where it was, as if waiting for confirmation, or waiting for someone else. Laura requested traffic camera logs from further down the road that hadn't been reviewed thoroughly the first time. It took 2 days, but they found the sedan again, 4 blocks away, stopped at a red light. The driver visible this time, barely. Male, short hair, no mask, looking straight ahead. Not panicked, not rushed, calm, almost patient. Laura printed the still frame. She stared at it, and something in her memory clicked. Not a name, not yet, but a posture, a stillness, the same stillness she had seen before. Body language analysis wasn't official protocol, but Laura trusted patterns. She pulled archived footage from a different case. 2 years earlier, an armed robbery in a neighboring county. No fatalities. Masked suspect. Quick entry. Direct movement. No hesitation. She put both clips side by side. The stance was identical. The slight tilt of the head before raising the weapon. The way the suspect led with his right shoulder. The measured, controlled breathing visible in chest movement. And something else. In both clips, at the moment before escalation, the suspect glanced briefly toward the security camera. Not at the cashier. At the camera. Like he was checking alignment. Like he knew exactly where it was. Laura felt the air leave her lungs. This wasn't impulsive violence. This was staged. And then she saw it. In the older robbery footage, reflected in a window across the street. The same still silhouette. Half a second. Almost invisible. Watching. Her pulse quickened. She ran facial recognition on the sedan driver from the enhanced traffic frame. The system flagged a possible match within minutes. Ethan Hale, former security system technician, recently fired. History of contract work installing surveillance cameras for small businesses, including Daniel Kovac's convenience store. Laura stared at the name. Ethan Hale had installed the very cameras that recorded the murder, which meant he knew their angles, their blind spots, their reflections. He knew exactly where to stand to remain invisible, except for one tiny mistake. A sliver of reflected glass. It had always been there. They just hadn't asked the right question. Ethan Hale did not look like a killer. When officers brought him in for questioning, he was composed. Early 30s. Clean-cut. Soft-spoken. The kind of man who fixed things quietly and left without being remembered. He didn't resist arrest. He didn't ask for a lawyer immediately. He simply asked, "What is this about?" Detective Laura Bennett watched him through the observation glass. Stillness. The same stillness from the footage. She placed 2 printed frames on the metal table in front of him. One was the enhanced traffic camera image of the sedan driver. The other was the reflection from the store's glass. Ethan's eyes flicked down, just briefly, but Laura saw it. Recognition. "You installed the cameras at Kovac's store," she said calmly. Yes, you knew exactly where they were positioned. That was my job. She slid the reflection image closer to him. There's someone standing across the street when the suspect enters. That someone is looking directly at the camera. Silence. Ethan leaned back. I don't see anything. Laura leaned forward slightly. It was always there. For the first time, his jaw tightened. The deeper they dug, the more the pattern emerged. Ethan had installed surveillance systems for 12 small businesses in the last 5 years. 3 of those businesses had later been robbed. 2 had resulted in serious injury. 1 ended in death. In every case, the suspect wore generic clothing. The suspect moved with rehearsed precision. The cameras captured the crime clearly, and somewhere in reflective glass or metal surfaces, a faint second presence appeared. A witness, not an accomplice in the traditional sense. A director. Ethan wasn't the masked gunman. He never entered the stores. He orchestrated the environment. He understood angles, reflections, blind spots. And most importantly, he understood attention. Police always focused on the obvious. The gun, the masked face, the immediate violence. No one looked at the edges of the frame. Until Laura did. The breakthrough didn't come through intimidation. It came through ego. Laura showed Ethan side-by-side still frames from all 4 cases. In each one, the reflection silhouette aligned perfectly with Ethan's height and posture. Do you know what makes this interesting? She asked quietly. He didn't answer. You're not hiding. You're positioning. Silence. You wanted to be there. Another long pause. Then finally, a small smile. It was a study, Ethan said softly. Laura didn't react. A study of perception. People see what they expect to see. They focus on movement, threat, noise. He tapped the reflection photo. They never look at what's still. Laura kept her voice steady. Why Kovac? Ethan shrugged. He trusted his system. Trusted that cameras meant safety. And the shooter? Disposable. The word hung in the room like smoke. Who was he? Laura pressed. Ethan's eyes returned to their neutral stillness. He answered an online ad. Anonymous cache. Instructions delivered digitally. Meet location. Exact timing. Ethan never touched the weapon. Never entered the building. Never appeared directly on camera. Except, he had, in every case, a ghost in the reflection. He confessed not because he had to, but because someone had finally noticed. Ethan Hale was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, accessory to homicide, and multiple counts tied to the prior robberies. The masked gunman was identified 2 weeks later through digital trail analysis tied to the anonymous job posting. He claimed he thought it was a simple robbery. He didn't know someone would die. But Laura couldn't stop thinking about something Ethan had said. People never look at what's still. She went back to the footage one last time, frame by frame. At 10:50 and 39 seconds p.m., just before the sedan pulled away, the store camera caught one more reflection. For less than half a second, Ethan wasn't looking at the building. He was looking directly into the lens. And he was smiling. Not wide, not dramatic, just enough, as if he believed he would never be seen. The case file was officially closed 11 months after Daniel Kovac's death. But the footage remained archived in the department's training database, under a new category, hidden evidence. Sometimes the most important evidence isn't the loudest. It isn't the gunshot. It isn't the scream. It isn't the masked face. It's the quiet presence standing just outside the frame. The one no one thinks to question. The one that feels ordinary, until someone looks long enough. The CCTV didn't fail. The system didn't break. The truth was recorded the entire time. It was always there. No one noticed. Until someone finally did.